Good afternoon. The Minnesota Senate Committee on Capital Investment will come to order. It's Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, 3 p.m. And we have an interesting agenda today. Welcome, everyone. We actually have a nice audience turnout for our committee meeting. First thing on the agenda, to get an update from MMB, Assistant Commissioner Hassemer is going to talk to us about the February revised debt capacity report. Welcome to the committee.
Great. Good afternoon, Chair Pappas and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jennifer Hassemer. I'm Assistant Commissioner at Minnesota Management and Budget. So I've got some slides. Since I was just here a couple months ago to walk you through the state's debt capacity forecast, I'm going to skip a lot of the details that I walked you through the last time and just hit on the highlights from what changed from the November forecast into the February forecast. And starting with, as soon as we get these pulled up on the screen here. Thank you so much. All right. So I will jump right into an update on our three guidelines.
Can you move a little closer to the mic?
Sure.
Thank
Is
you.
this a little
That's
better?
better.
Is
Yeah,
that better?
thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. So I'll give you an update on our three debt guidelines, starting with guideline number 1, which, as you recall, it measures the total amount of state debt that is outstanding compared to state personal income. And under this guideline, the limit should be at 3.25% or less of state personal income. On the slide here, you can see in the February debt capacity forecast that this measure was 1.90%. And the types of debt, again, that we are capturing within this guideline are all of the state's general obligation bonds, so the general fund supported and trunk highway fund supported, state appropriation bonds, including certificates of participation for real estate and other state-supported debt, such as the housing infrastructure bonds that are paid from a standing appropriation from the general fund.
Assistant Commissioner, at some point, I'd really like to know what that outstanding debt is on appropriation bonds and certificates of participation.
Sure, and we do publish that in our, Madam Chair, we do publish that in our debt capacity forecast. I have a high-level overview in a couple slides. I'll show you the aggregate number
okay,
in
great.
just a couple
Thank you.
minutes. Yep. So then turning to guideline number 2, this is also a measure of state debt compared to state personal income. This one dials out a little bit further and measures both the debt that the state has outstanding as well as debt that the legislature has authorized but has not yet been sold. Under guideline number 2, this measure of debt should be no more than 6% of state personal income. And the types of debt that we are measuring under guideline number 2 are all of the same types of debt as we showed you in guideline number 1, plus moral obligations of the state and also lease purchase financing for equipment. And what you can see on this slide in our February debt capacity forecast, this measure was 3.59% of state personal income. Turning to guideline number 3, the last and final of our existing debt guidelines, this has a different look, as you know, about state outstanding debt, and this looks at how quickly the state is scheduled to repay general obligation bonds, both general fund supported and trunk highway fund supported, with no less than 40% of that debt should be scheduled to be paid off within 5 years, and no less than 70% scheduled to be paid off within 10 years. As a reminder, the purpose of this guideline is to preserve borrowing capacity for future legislatures. And what you can see, these percentages are actually the same as the November forecast. As I've explained before, we're done selling debt in fiscal year 2025, so these percentages won't change again until fiscal year 26 after we sell bonds again later this year. So this is the table that I referenced just a moment ago. This is just reorienting you to the state's current debt portfolio. And what you can see on the table on this slide, which is pulled from our debt capacity forecast, and you should have a copy of that in your materials for today. The state currently has outstanding debt of about $8.4 billion, which you can see in the middle column on the table here, as well as an additional $2.5 billion in debt that has been authorized but not yet sold. Of that $2.5 billion, you can see the vast majority of that is all general obligation debt, but split roughly 50-50 between general fund supported and trunk highway fund supported. The third line on the table is where you can see our outstanding annual appropriation debt. So there you can see about $1.5 billion of outstanding state appropriation bonds. That includes a whole swath of debt that's been authorized for these types of programs in the past. And I believe you have a presentation later on the agenda today with more details on those. So again, trying to translate our updates to you on our debt capacity under our debt guidelines into conversations about how big of a bonding bill the legislature can pass. That's where it's worth reminding the committee of our practice of including future assumptions about future bonding bills in the budget and economic forecast. And you can see on this slide that with our February forecast, the assumed future capital budgets did change from the November forecast that I talked to you about a couple months ago. In 2025, the forecast is now assuming a $700 million bonding bill in the current legislative session in the current year. And that reflects a reduction from the $790 million that we showed you and told you about as part of our November forecast. You can also see at the bottom of this slide that what the current 10-year averages are for the even years and the odd years following the convention that has been in place for a long time in the state here. With future even year bonding bills just over $1 billion within the forecast, and future odd year bonding bills at $165 million in the forecast. Not to jump ahead to a future slide too quickly, but the reduction from the $790 million down to the $700 million assumption for 2025 is all an interest rate story compared to the November forecast. When we prepared our February forecast and used the macroeconomic data that our outside consulting firm provides the state, that is also used for our larger revenue and budget forecast, interest rates for municipal bonds went up significantly from November. So across the entire forecast horizon, we saw interest rate increases that are projected to be about 40 basis points or about 0.4% higher than our previous estimates. And it's really the higher interest rate projections that drove the change for the 2025 assumption in the February forecast. So then I'll quickly walk you through the tables that you've seen before, then that are published in our debt capacity forecast that measure out what our maximum debt capacity, what the state's maximum debt capacity is under each of the guidelines. This first table is looking at guidelines number 1 and 2. Again, those are the guidelines that are measuring tax-supported debt to state personal income. And the goal of our analysis on this table is to see what the maximum amount of bonding authorizations could be over the forecast horizon that gets us just to the limit in either guideline number 1 or guideline number 2. It's the second line on the table that shows the maximum debt capacity under these two guidelines. Again, the personal income look at debt capacity, and it shows that in fiscal year 25, in the current year, these guidelines would support a $3.5 billion bonding bill with other significant amounts in the future years. Again, the impact, the limit under guideline number 1 would be the first to be reached under these projections out in fiscal year 2031. But there is a cost to those levels of bonding, and that is what we show on the bottom line on this table, and the additional general fund costs that would be required to support those higher levels of borrowing. The next slide shows you the analysis of what our maximum borrowing capacity would be under guideline number 3. This is a table that we've now published 4 times for the last 4 forecasts for you, as a result of many questions regarding the capacity limits that we've been approaching under this guideline. As a reminder, the purpose, again, of this guideline is to preserve borrowing capacity for the future by having the state pay off its current debt obligations quickly. The middle column on this table, the one with the dark box drawn around it, is the report on what the maximum amounts of bonding capacity would be under this guideline that would keep the state within compliance of this guideline number 3 and making sure that we are paying down that debt quickly. The two columns on the right with all of the percentages in them, those are the percentages that we project based on those maximum scenarios. So not on the forecast assumptions, but on the higher forecast or higher maximum scenarios. I mentioned already that the next time these percentages will change is after we sell bonds later this year. We'll update these percentages as part of the November forecast once we have additional debt that's come online and we know what that repayment schedule is. And one last slide for you here. Again, just to sort of remind you of some of the inputs that go into the Guideline 3 calculations. There are a number of factors that these calculations are sensitive to. I've already mentioned interest rates as one of the inputs that Guideline 3 analysis is sensitive to. And with the projected higher interest rates over the forecast horizon, we do project some lower debt capacity under Guideline number 3 for the coming few years. But our analysis under this guideline is also contingent on the projected spending plans of the projects that have received legislative appropriations. We start each bonding bill with a generic set of assumptions about when those projects will be ready to start spending their money. But once those projects start actually moving towards completion and getting their construction contracts signed, the actual spend timeline can either accelerate or decelerate from what those generic assumptions are. And we will work with our state agency partners. We do that every summer to collect their updated spending assumptions for the coming year so that we can make sure that we sell enough bonds for those projects. So by the time we get to our November forecast later this year, we will have new and refreshed spending projections, both for the $2.5 billion that I highlighted on the previous slide of debt that's been previously authorized, as well as any new debt that might get authorized this year. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation and the update on the February debt capacity forecast, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Ms. Hasmore, just that last sentence, general obligation debt is issued with level principal. Could you explain that?
Absolutely. So when we sell general obligation debt, we are capped by the Constitution of a maximum maturity of 20 years. So every new issue of general obligation bonds will extend out for an additional 20 years. We structure that debt so that we are paying an equal amount of principal in year 1, same amount of principal we're repaying in year 10 and year 20.
Great, thank you. Questions from the committee? Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to have two questions now, but I'd like to follow up on your question first. So, Ms. Hasmer, do we then pay a higher amount in the early years because we also have to pay interest on that higher principal amount, and we see that amortized payment drop over the 20-year bond cycle, I presume?
Ms. Hasmer.
Madam Chair, Senator Pratt, that is correct. With the interest payments factored in, those are higher in the early years. So with level principal and higher interest in the early years, our overall debt payments are also higher in the first 10 years compared to the second 10 years of our debt obligations.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Ms. Hasmer, I think you said, you made a comment about higher interest rates affecting the amount that we could bond for. I know the state economist has factored in, I think, 1 or 2 cuts for this year. Has that impacted your assumptions in future biennium?
Commissioner Hasmer.
Madam Chair, Senator Pratt, those same assumptions that the state economist uses in the revenue forecast also are being factored in by the markets. So the capital markets, they adjust once those expectations of how many interest rate cuts are expected in a year. So the markets are already pricing in what those expectations are.
Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm sorry, Ms. Hasmer, I wasn't talking about the markets. I was talking about your forecast. So when you determine that we can issue $1 billion or $165 million, are those dependent on the interest rate forecast from the state economist, or are those independent of, it doesn't matter if that interest rate goes up or down in your forecast right now?
Assistant Commissioner Hasmer.
Yep, Madam Chair, Senator Pratt, they are independent, and this is where it can get confusing. The assumed capital budgets that are carried in the forecast are all based on a historic look back in terms of what size of capital budgets have passed in the last 10 years by the legislature. So those are based on actual budgets that have passed and aren't impacted by interest rates. It is instead our projections of future debt service costs where it is influenced by future projected interest rates. And there we get forecasted interest rates from the state's macroeconomic firm.
So the 23 bills that we passed are now included in that 10-year look back, I'm assuming.
Madam Chair, yes, they are.
All right, thank you. Senator Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is kind of along that same line that we were speaking about with the interest rates and what was used as assumptions in the information that you gave us. And particularly, I'm thinking about on the managing the state debt capacity slide. And if I understood your comment a bit earlier to Senator Pappas's question, the reason that the state maximum bonding was reduced from, I think, 790 to 700 million, I believe you said was due to interest rate increases factored into your assumptions. But I just wanted to know what were those interest rate increases? So what was that assumption?
Mm-hmm.
Assistant Commissioner Hessmer.
Madam Chair, Senator Nelson, that's a good question. In November, our future interest rate assumption for 2025 was just over 4%, so 4.05% was what was factored into the November forecast. Mm-hmm. That increased to 4.45% for our February forecast.
Thank you. That was my question exactly.
Thank you, Senator Nelson. Are there any other questions right now for Ms. Hessmer? All right, thank you so much for the update. Next on our agenda is an update on our lead service lines replacement program, and we want to welcome to the witness table Deputy Director Burkholz with Minnesota Public Facilities Authority and Corey Matheson from the Department of Health.
Can you just hold it? Thank you. Happens to be. Oh, it was in the wrong place. Oopie. Dear me, dear, what'd I do? Oh, no. What did I do? Oh, my God. Slideshow from beginning.
We'll stop chatting back here if you guys are ready. All right, welcome to the committee.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Karen Burkholz. I'm the Deputy Director of the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority, and I'm joined today by Corey Matheson from the Department of Health. What we wanted to do today, and thank you very much for the invite to present to you, is a status of the lead service line replacement program, which was enacted by the legislature in 2023. We're going to cover various aspects of that program as administered by the Department of Health, and then talk about where we're at with funding and projects that are actually the construction projects. And with that, I will turn it over to my first slide. And we administer this program very closely. The partnership is genuine, and without it, I don't think we'd be as effective as we have been to date. The other thing I would say is that I think that the legislature was masterful in combining the state general fund appropriation with the federal dollars. We, I believe, are the first state in the nation to do that. New York is nipping at our heels, and it helps us fulfill your obligation, your vision that this program would result in replacement of lead service lines at no cost to municipalities and no cost to homeowners. And it's through the combining of those resources, state and federal, that we've been able to do that thus far. And we'll talk about how far much into the future we'll be able to do that as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Corey.
Thanks, Karen. Madam Chair, Senators, for the record, my name is Corey Matheson. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Minnesota and serve as the Lead Service Line Replacement Program Manager for the Minnesota Department of Health. I will be providing an update on the ongoing identification efforts to address the important public health issue of lead service lines. I will also highlight a couple of the important planning requirements for communities as they work to replace all lead service lines in Minnesota by 2033. As I begin, I'd like to describe a couple of terms that will be used throughout this presentation. I will discuss the term water systems, which are defined as community public water supplies according to the Federal Safe Drinking Water Act. These water systems are often a city-owned water utility, but can also include other types like mobile home parks. I'll also use the term service line, which is simply the underground pipe that provides drinking water from the water main to an individual home. The United States Environmental Protection Agency required the submittal of an initial service line inventory in 2024 for the nearly 1,000 community water systems in Minnesota. We received inventories from 100% of the systems. We were one of very few states in the nation with the submittal rate that high, so Minnesota was very proud of that fact. Those inventories identified about 90,000 service lines being identified as needing replacement thus far. We still have about 280,000 service lines that require additional identification efforts to be done in the coming years. The Minnesota Department of Health developed a contract with 18 engineering firms to assist water systems with completing their inventory. And the Minnesota Department of Health, in collaboration with the University of Minnesota, also developed an online map to display the inventory information, the lead inventory tracking tool. This is an important tool to provide public access to that important service line inventory data. These are a couple of screenshots from that lead inventory tracking tool. The graphic on the left represents individual community water systems in the state, the nearly 1,000 systems. You'll notice a lot of red dots on there. Each red dot indicates a system that has at least one service line that needs replacement. There are more than 450 of those municipal systems in the state. On the right-hand side is a snapshot of our statewide inventory process or progress to date, showing the 1.5 million service lines available on the tool. And this is going to be an ongoing effort to update that data as the future identification efforts and replacements are done. These are some more screenshots from the lead inventory tracking tool. On the left is more of a community level basis, showing the individual dots on specific properties and what their status is. And on the right is an example from an individual property describing the type of service line material for that particular address. One of the unique features of this is that homeowners can search by their address so they can find their information for their very specific home. I mentioned earlier the 18 engineering firms under contract with the Minnesota Department of Health to provide assistance with the inventory process. In 2024, we provided technical assistance through these contractors to community water systems to complete their initial service line inventory. We provided assistance for 405 water systems across the state. That's nearly 1/2 of the systems statewide. And we used a total amount of $14.8 million so far on that program. We are currently working on the second phase of the inventory process now, and we're currently accepting applications from water systems to take efforts to further identify unknowns using these contractors. Our application period is currently open, and systems can apply through the end of this week by March 28th. Transitioning a bit toward actual replacement projects now, one of the important planning requirements is that communities set up their prioritization of what service lines they need to replace and when they need to replace them. Many systems will require a phased approach to replace all necessary service lines within their system. Minnesota recognizes the importance of prioritizing these replacements within a particular service area for that system. Applicants to our lead service line replacement program are required to prioritize their replacements and submit the plan to the Minnesota Department of Health for review. Consideration is given to several factors, including targeting areas with children with elevated blood lead levels, targeting areas with children under the age of 5, and targeting lower income residents. The Minnesota Department of Health, again, collaborated with a service line replacement priority online mapping tool. This is an online tool that allows water systems to evaluate these criteria within their city to determine their priority areas. This is a screenshot from that prioritization tool. In this example, this is an area in the city of St. Paul where they are actively replacing lead service lines now. In this example, the area is a higher priority because it has a high number of children under 5 years old, and it also has a higher percentage of low-income residents.
So is the area you're focusing on the pink area or the blue area, which is the high priority area?
Madam Chair, it is based on census data. In this particular example, it's that bluish shaded area. That's what was selected for determining that.
Okay.
But each of those areas would have their own specific information.
Thank you.
Another important piece of the 2023 legislation was the requirement for workforce plans to be developed for applicants to our program for systems that serve at least 15,000 service connections. Those applicants are required to develop a workforce plan which describes how they will maximize the use of registered apprentices and other populations underrepresented in the construction industry. Those workforce plans are submitted to the Minnesota Department of Health for review and approval. To date, we have approved workforce plans for the cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, and St. Cloud. Other applicants serving at least 15,000 service connections will be required to submit their workforce plans as they work toward replacing lead service lines in their communities. And with that, I'll turn it over to Karen.
And now I'll talk about the funding process. All of the funding for the lead service line program goes through the Drinking Water Revolving Fund. That's our state dollars as well as the federal dollars. The projects are listed on the Department of Health project priority list, and then in turn, the PFA lists it on our intended use plans. This year, with the 2025 IUP, even without the bonding bill, we committed to funding all of the lead service line projects that were listed in the 2025 IUP. And that, again, is because of the way that the funding was allocated to the program at the federal and the state level. We have the resources to do that now. Our program, as I said, combines those federal and state dollars so that we can cover the public and the private costs of replacing those lead service lines. And it's complete replacement. We don't do partial replacements. It's the full lead service line that is replaced. The IIJA, the Federal Infrastructure and Investment Job Act funding, to date, we have received $171.4 million. I want to emphasize that we have benefited from reallocation of lead service line funding from other states. And those are states that don't have lead service lines. As you move further east, there are more cities and states that have lead service lines. The further west you go, like to Wyoming, for example, they don't. And so they return those dollars to the EPA, and the EPA in turn reallocates those funds out to states. And that is why when we submitted our annual report in September of 2024 to the legislature and the governor, it said this 171.4 amount, but through reallocation, our federal dollars are much closer to $350 million, which is of great benefit to our communities. That includes loan dollars as well as principal forgiveness. Principal forgiveness is EPA code for grant. So we are able to do that exchange of resources so that our municipalities and our residents do not pay loan dollars for that.
So, Ms. Burkholz, were we able to bring in that amount of money because we just really jumped on this very quickly?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, the way that EPA did this is that they have an allocation strategy that they look at nationally, and we do benefit from that. Is it because, we are held in high regard by EPA? That could be part of it, but also we demonstrated through our inventory and through some of the other processes and the engagement that we have the demand for those dollars. We have the need for those federal resources, and that's why they were reallocated to Minnesota and other states as well.
And do you have any indication on the future availability of federal dollars for lead service line replacement?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, just today I was working on some grant applications to EPA. Several of those include reallocation with amounts to be determined by EPA that will be bringing additional dollars into our state. Those applications are due on Monday of next week. When EPA is able to, devote their time to that, we'll be ready. When they say, here's some more funding that's going to be headed towards Minnesota.
Great.
Right now, in our 2025 IUP, the intended use plan, there are 85 projects from 78 applicants around the state requesting $178 million. And as I mentioned before, all of those projects are in the fundable range. We intentionally wanted to be able to fund all of those projects when they're truly ready to go. The estimated private project cost is about $115 million, so that's to residents. Some of these systems are all privately owned. An example of that is City of Minneapolis. Their system is unique, but everything that they're doing is private, and private in LSLR language translates to grants. And so I think that's an important point to make. Also, some systems before our program was enacted in our state had already started making inroads into replacing lead service lines. And so that's why you see that some systems don't have any public side costs. They already covered that themselves. And we estimate that the public project cost is $63 million. In my final slide, I wanted to illustrate for you what we think the demand is. And Chair, I think you were sort of alluding to that with your question about what about future funding. If you look at the first column on your left, 2024, we had 31 projects requesting $61 million. In the 2025 IUP, the current IUP, that number grew to 54 projects requesting $116 million. That's a 74% increase in projects and a 90% increase in funding requests. Through our outreach with communities, we've been talking to Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, and others. The first three that we engaged with were Minneapolis, Duluth, and St. Paul. And the question was, what do you intend to request in the 2026 IUP? And those three jurisdictions estimate that their request will be $130 million. That pretty much takes up our appropriation to date. And that's one thing I wanted to make mention is that we think that this demand is going to continue at an upward trajectory. And that's a good thing, because that means that we'll be out there helping with public health concerns and addressing those statewide. We have awarded so far $55.6 million of appropriated dollars. The number of lines replaced to date, 2,500. The number of the number of LSL lines identified in those awards is 2,500. The number of actual ones replaced is 1,755. And then the overall estimated need, and this is from the Department of Health report back in 2023, is $1.5 billion. We are accepting applications now for the 2026 IUP. Those are due the 6th of June. We anticipate that the 2026 IUP will be finalized in fall of 2025. Our next report to the legislature on the LSLR program will be submitted to the legislature and the governor on the 15th of September. And so we'll be updating all of our numbers and our data for you at that time, and then considering our available resources for the 2026 IUP. And with that, that concludes our comments.
Any questions from members of the committee? I was just wondering if either Ms. James or Ms. Grunwald-Noldner could just remind me of, in the 23 session, when we allocated, was it 230 million for this? 240 million. Where did that come through? I don't remember that being in the capital investment bill. Did it? It was out of the general fund. It was not, I know, it was not bonds, but did we have it in one of our bills, or was it in someone else's bill?
Madam Chair and committee members, I believe it was a separate bill.
Separate bill all by itself. Okay, great. Thanks. All right, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, Ms. James, Senate Counsel, is going to give us a little state-issued appropriation bonds 101.
Madam Chair, members, in your packets, you have two things for me. One is a very detailed memo describing appropriation bonds and the state's history issuing appropriation bonds. And then you also have a PowerPoint, which I can't make work. But it.
Help is on the way.
Easy. Okay, thanks. So the memo is very detailed. The PowerPoint will be higher level, just the main points that I think will be of use to you. Appropriation bonds are debt instruments, just like general obligation bonds in that respect, but they are payable contingent on the legislature appropriating money to pay the debt service on them. So they are different than general obligation bonds in that way. Here is a little table that describes the differences between appropriation bonds and general obligation bonds. First of all, general obligation bonds, as you are all well aware, are backed by the constitutional promise that the state will levy taxes as necessary to make payments on the bonds. That makes them a very safe investment for bondholders, and that's why, all other things being equal, general obligation bonds would require a lower interest rate than appropriation bonds. General obligation bonds require a 3/5 vote. And that's also a constitutional requirement for the category that we most apply from the Constitution, which is for improvements to land and buildings. Appropriation bonding bill would only require a majority vote. General obligation bonds, of course, count towards guidelines 1, 2, and 3. Appropriation bonds do not count toward guideline 3, but they do count towards guidelines 1 and 2. That's because guideline 3 is looking at general obligation debt, which appropriation bonds are not. There's more flexibility in the kinds of things that you can use appropriation bonds for. Like all state funds, they have to have a public purpose. But beyond that, there are no specific categories. It doesn't have to pay for things that are publicly owned, and it doesn't have to pay for things that are capital in nature. Of course, general obligation bonds, we believe, has to be in a bill that starts in the House, and that is because of the backing from a tax base. So they're like a tax bill, it's a tax obligation, essentially, but appropriation bonds are not backed by that promise to tax, and therefore do not have to start in the House. Appropriation bonds are paid from an appropriation that is in statute. For each one of the issuances of appropriation bonds that we've had, we've created a statute section dedicated to that purpose, and in that statute is the appropriation for the debt service on it. Similarly, we have a statute that pays the debt service on general obligation bonds. We've used appropriation bonds several times since 2011. They were new in 2011. The first authorization was for a pay-for-performance program that never really got off the ground. No bonds were ever issued, and that's since been repealed. Also in 2011, they were authorized to close a budget gap. They refunded tobacco settlement revenue bonds, which were the first way to pay for the budget gap. But the law provided for these appropriation bonds after validation by the Supreme Court to refund those tobacco settlement revenue bonds. So essentially, the 2011 appropriation bonds were used to close that budget gap. In 2012, they were used for Viking Stadium construction. In 2015 and 2017, they were used to fund the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System project. In 2018, they were used for some natural resources projects that, and that issuance or that authorization was repealed before they were issued in favor of using the Environmental Resources and Natural Resources Trust Fund. In 2019, they were used for the Duluth infrastructure program for public infrastructure there, and they've been issued 3 times for that authorization in 2020, 2021, and 2023. They were also used 3 times in 2020 for 3 separate purposes, one for electric vehicle charging stations on state-owned property, for public television equipment grants, for site remediation for some contaminated and polluted sites. And then in 2022, they were issued to refinance the 2012 budget gap appropriation bonds. And that is all that I have for you. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. James, in 2017, didn't we also use appropriation bonds to fund this building? We did not?
Ms. James.
Madam Chair, Senator Housley, no, we used certificates of participation to fund the Senate building.
And how do certificates of participation differ from appropriation bonds?
Madam Chair, members, it's also a debt instrument, also a statutory appropriation to pay the payments on them. Would be different terms to the purchasers of the certificates. But I think they're also backed by just a promise to pay if an appropriation is made, to make payments on them.
And just to follow up then, with the Capitol renovation, I just wanted to know if you recall how we paid for that, and then how are we paying for the SOB expansion?
Madam Chair and members, the Capitol was paid for with general obligation bonds, if I remember right. And then the SOB, or that renovation, I don't think it's been spelled out exactly what instrument is going to be used. I know there's a bill floating around that makes it certificates of participation specifically.
Well, it's odd that we could start with that construction without knowing how we were going to pay for it.
No, I think, Madam Chair, I think that there is a plan for how to pay for it, but I'm not sure what debt instruments have been sold for it.
Maybe we could find out.
Yeah.
Is Ms. Hassemer still here? No. Oh, yes. Do you know, Ms. Hassemer, how we're paying for the state office building? Could you come and share that with us? Well, that was a lot of jail bonds for the Capitol. 350. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Jen Hassemer, Assistant Commissioner at MMB. We did actually sell certificates of participation for the state office building financing. It was in, I think, October, November of 2023 for that transaction. So that debt has all been sold and is another obligation of the state, part of the $1.5 billion that I mentioned earlier.
Do you have any more to add about the differences between appropriation bonds and certificates of participation, and what would be the advantage of using one over the other?
Well, Madam Chair, general obligation bonds are certainly the lowest form of borrowing cost for the state, given the protections that investors have that they're going to be repaid. And it's a tool that Minnesota has used regularly over the decades. So it's a tool that investors are used to seeing from the state of Minnesota. Some other states don't have authority to issue their own general obligation bonds, but appropriation bonds is just another financing tool, as Ms. James described for you, where the projects or the programs might not fit the constitutional requirements for issuing general obligation bonds for them. They are a more expensive form of debt, but have some additional flexibilities that were highlighted.
And certificates of participation, that's what I was more interested in, is why use those instead of appropriation bonds?
Sure. So, Madam Chair, certificates of participation are actually a form of annual appropriation bond. It's just that there is a lease purchase agreement that helps the transaction all come together. So there will be a lessee and a lessor that are working together to lease a building that is going to be improved with the obligations. And in exchange for that, lease payments are made, and it's those lease payments that are passed on to the investors to repay the debt. But the structure for those lease payments is usually by that annual appropriation for the purpose of making the payment.
So who actually then owns this building and will own the expansion of the SOB? I mean, is it the Port Authority, or who actually is the lease, the owner?
Madam Chair, it's the state of Minnesota for both buildings.
Then who is leasing it?
Madam Chair, it's actually, it's different. This building, there's a lease between the Department of Administration and the Senate, and it's the Senate lease payments that are eventually passed on
That are
to
paying off the
investors.
debt.
Correct.
Great. And so the similar situation with the SOB, it would be the House of Representatives that would be paying off the debt to the state of Minnesota?
It's actually a lease agreement that is between MMB and Department of Administration. In that case, for that authorizing legislation, the lease appropriations were made to the Department of Administration, and MMB is collecting those to pass on to the investors.
Okay. Senator Pratt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And unfortunately, I have to take off here for just a second, but I just want to be clear. We borrowed money on a certificate of participation, and we are leasing the building from ourselves. Okay. And I guess, Madam Chair, and Ms. James, you may remember, and I can't remember if it was 2017 or 2018, when Governor Dayton vetoed the state's the state legislature's appropriation, and we ended up almost defaulting on the payments for this building. I thought they were appropriation bonds, but isn't that also correct?
Ms. James.
Madam Chair, Senator Pratt, yes, that's right. It was a concern that summer what was going to happen with those payments that were due.
Yeah. Senator Pratt.
Thank you. And Ms. James, if I remember right, appropriation bonds were typically used for areas where we were expecting a dedicated revenue stream. For instance, the tobacco settlement, the highway trunk user fund, e-pull tabs when we did it for the Viking Stadium. Wouldn't that, have we issued trunk participation or highway appropriation bonds? I got way too many ideas floating around. Have we issued appropriation bonds when we haven't had a dedicated source of revenue?
Ms. James.
Madam Chair and Senator Pratt and members, yes, we have. So 2011 was the budget gap that were funded with appropriation bonds. They refunded the tobacco settlement bonds, which were revenue bonds and backed by a source of revenue. And then in the Lewis and Clark Regional Water System in 2015 and 2017 is just backed with an appropriation and not with a source of revenue. Similarly, the Duluth infrastructure projects authorization in 2019 is not backed by any source of revenue other than an appropriation. And then the 2020, the three from 2020, also not backed by any particular source of revenue, but just an appropriation.
Senator Pratt.
I'm sorry, what was the 2021 again?
We had three in 2020. These are the electric vehicle infrastructure, charging stations, the public television equipment grants, and contaminated site remediation.
Any other questions? Ooh, Senator Kroon, and then Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a newbie to this committee, so this is a very interesting vehicle. So basically, if I'm understanding this correctly, state issues bonds, and we pay back the bondholders with future appropriations if we feel like it.
Well,
And there's
We're
no
obligated.
recourse to the bondholders if we choose to not pay them back, but it could negatively affect our credit rating. Is that basically what this is?
Ms. James.
Madam Chair and members, I think that I put it that way one time, that I saw no recourse for the bondholders, and I think Ms. Hassemer said, well, that's not quite right. So
Ms.
maybe I'll
Hassemer.
ask her to weigh in.
Madam Chair, and thank you, Ms. James. It is true that under an annual appropriation bond structure, the legislature has the right to non-appropriate and remove that appropriation in the future. It would not only affect the state's bond rating, it would also impact our ability to access the capital markets, even for general obligation bonds going forward.
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that was my next question, whether it would just affect future appropriation bonds or whether it would affect general obligation bonds, and it sounds like the answer to that question is the latter, so appreciate it. Thank you.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you. I had a different question, but I want to follow up on the response to Senator Kroon's question. When you say access the capital markets, is that just another way of saying our credit rating will go down? Or
Ms. Hassemer.
Madam Chair, Senator Dibble, it would be hard to have investors want to buy Minnesota bonds in the event that on a previously issued obligation that the legislature took away the source that would repay their investment.
Senator Dibble.
So my question is, for either of you, I'm looking at Ms. James' slides and the chart that talks about the debt guidelines. And I see that appropriation bonds, and I assume this would include certificates of participation because those are a form of appropriation bond, does count towards, or does have some implication for guidelines 1 and 2, which is our debt relative to income. So I'm wondering, is it weighted in any way with respect to those, or is it counted kind of percent, on a percentage basis, dollar for dollar, number one? That's my first question. And my second question is, why is our appropriation bonds not counted or have no implication for guideline number 3, which is the guideline that has to do with the retirement period?
I think that's a Hassemer question. Ms. Hassemer?
Sure, Madam Chair, Senator Dibble. So in regards to the first question, it was about, can I see your slide for a second?
That guidelines.
Was it about guidelines 1 and 2 versus 3
Yeah, actually,
for question number
I have a
1?
two-parter to that first question, which is, are appropriation bonds weighted equally to GO bonds with respect to guidelines 1 and 2? And is it theoretically conceivable that appropriation bonds could, if issued in sufficient amounts, have some implication for our overall debt ceiling?
Madam
Ms.
Chair,
Hessler.
Senator Dibble, there's no weighting that goes into the guideline 1 and guideline 2 calculations. It's just the total dollar amount of all of the types of debt that we're measuring under those guidelines. So it's just the total amount of outstanding debt. In regards to your second question about the guideline 3 and how appropriation bonds aren't in there, they are a more flexible tool. For example, the Constitution limits general obligation bonds to a maximum term of 20 years. There could be instances, and there's at least one instance on the list of appropriation bonds that Ms. James walked through, where the term was longer than 20 years, which would not have been permissible for general obligation bonds under the Constitution. But it is generally a best practice that when you're financing capital assets, we're generally trying to match the life of the debt up to the useful life of the project that's being financed.
Thanks, and then.
Senator Dibble.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then going back to guidelines 1 and 2, I had the kind of second parter to that question, which was, is there a theoretical amount that could be issued in appropriation bonds that would then have some implication for our overall debt threshold in our GO bonding program, our overall debt program?
Ms. Hassemer.
Yep. Madam Chair, Senator Dibble, I know my slides aren't up on the screen anymore, but from the one slide that I showed you earlier where we calculate the maximum capacity under guidelines 1 and 2, and in 2025, the maximum amount is the $3.5 billion. That would be inclusive of all of the types of debt that are measured under those guidelines. So general fund, supported general obligation bonds, trunk highway fund, general obligation bonds, and any state appropriation bonds.
So for example, if we used appropriation bonds for lead service lines in high amounts, we could reach the maximum. Well, it would take quite a lot to reach the maximum for guideline 2, I guess. You'd have to be borrowing in the billions and billions of dollars, it looks like. So what I think what Ms. Burkholz said is, or in the materials, there's like another 1.5 billion to replace all the lead service lines. And I don't see that capacity with GO bonds. What did we use in that standalone bill? Who remembers? Cash. We use cash in the standalone bill. So we don't have cash. So I'm just talking out loud about maybe appropriation bonds would be a source for the lead service lines, since there isn't a capacity in GO to complete those. So any other questions? Senator Dibble.
I would agree with you if we identified the source, if it was just simply reliant on an annual general fund appropriation to pay out those appropriation bonds. I think we'd have to think carefully about that.
Right.
But I wanted to circle back to the point, which is I think we've generally thought of, and I remember last biennium, someone had come up with the idea of bonding for a number of community-based nonprofit social service organizations and their capital needs with appropriation bonds. The argument that, it'll never be subject to the limitations that we are subjected to under our GO bonding program. And while it would take a lot to get there, that is, in a literal sense, not true, I think is what we just learned.
I was just wondering, Ms. James, in your more detailed handout, if you talked about what our total debt payment is for appropriation bonds. Because we're finding out now that we have to pay that, out of the general fund. Yeah.
Madam Chair and members, I do not have that number.
Including certificates of participation.
Oh.
I think that would be interesting to know.
It's probably in the debt capacity forecast, which I did not bring to the table here,
Okay.
but which Ms. Hassemer may have handy.
Yes. Do you have it?
Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Yes,
I don't
Ms.
have the
Grunwald.
total off the top of my head, but some of these projects are included in the forecast, so maybe that's something that I can work with MMB on to make sure we get you an accurate
Okay.
total.
Yeah, I am looking in the debt capacity forecast briefing on page 7, where they're listing the debt, is what it looks like. Is that true, Ms. Hassemer?
Madam Chair, if you have the debt capacity forecast in front of you, I would have you turn to page 2.
Page
There's
2.
There's
Okay.
a table there called annual debt service costs, and it shows one column for our various purpose general obligation debt, our trunk highway debt, subtotals those for general obligation bonds, and then the column that's second from the right is other tax-supported bonds.
Okay.
That's just another way of saying annual appropriation debt. So you can see in fiscal year '25, our total payment for the other tax-supported debt is $179 million.
Great. Thank you. So the highest was in '23, which was $500 million. And wow, we were paying off debt. So do you think that was, did we already say we used certificates of participation for the capital itself? No, we used GO for the capital
GO for
itself.
the capital, Madam
Okay.
Chair, yep. And 2023 is a strange case, just to point that out. That is the year we paid off the stadium debt.
The stadium debt.
So that's factored into the
Okay.
538.
That was the year we had a lot of cash, right? Okay. Staff would like this question answered. To Commissioner Hassemer, why does the U.S. Bank Stadium, they're going to be in front of us in a minute, why would they need appropriation bonds and can't use GO?
It's a great question, Madam Chair, and it has to do with the relationship with the team that is in the facility and some of the agreements there. The way that the stadium is structured and set up to operate, it does not qualify for general obligation bond financing.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions from the team here? All right, thank you very much. More to come on appropriation bonds. It's really interesting. Well, coincidentally, next up is the U.S. Bank Stadium. Mr. Vekich, Chair of the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority, is joining us. Welcome. A lot of finance stuff. Good thing you wrote that law. Sorry, Mr. Vekich. Please
Thank you.
proceed.
Madam Chair and Senators, thank you for your time today. For the record, I'm Michael Vekich, and I chair the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority. The MSFA is a political subdivision of the state of Minnesota, serving as the organization responsible for the public oversight of the state's investment and ownership of U.S. Bank Stadium. I'm here today to share with you a few objectives. The successful operation of U.S. Bank Stadium, meeting and exceeding all promises and original intentions for the venue as an economic engine for the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis. An overview of our existing funding streams and the short and long-term capital investment needs for U.S. Bank Stadium. The request for funding for Phase 2 of the permanent secured perimeter, an important public safety initiative to protect and maintain this venue, and the important statutory obligation from the 2012 legislation for the state of Minnesota to maintain this venue in a first-class manner, similar to and consistent with other comparable NFL stadiums. The Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority was established by the legislature in 2012 and charged with the design, construction, and operation of U.S. Bank Stadium. While the investments into the building of this venue were supported by the state of Minnesota, city of Minneapolis, and the Minnesota Vikings, the MSFA, as a political subdivision of the state of Minnesota, owns U.S. Bank Stadium and operating it as a state asset. Today, the MSFA makes decisions in the best interests of the people of Minnesota by overseeing the maintenance of and reinvestment in U.S. Bank Stadium. The MSFA ensures that the U.S. Bank Stadium is being operated and managed at the highest level. The MSFA provides oversight to many stadium partners, including our stadium operator, ASM Global, and stadium concessionaire, Aramark, as well as many unions and vendors who operate U.S. Bank Stadium on a daily basis. In collaboration with our stadium partners, we provide a safe, world-class sports and entertainment environment for all. The venue has proven to be a major economic driver, and in the nearly 9 years since opening, U.S. Bank Stadium has welcomed more than 9 million guests through the doors of nearly 1,900 events, provided a world-class setting for community events and large and small, hosted, importantly, 9 Vikings seasons, hosted 28 major concerts amounting to over 1.4 million guests for concerts alone, welcomed guests of all ages for family events such as Monster Jam and Supercross, hosted youth and amateur sports, hosted collegiate baseball and softball games, and provided a large-scale gathering space for multi-diverse communities of faith. Offered a memorable and unique setting for hundreds of business meetings, conferences, trade shows, and celebrations for groups of all sizes. Provided year-round public and group tours to explore the venue and learn about the stadium's business, operation, and sustainability. Became certified LEED Platinum for operations and management, and was ranked as the top NFL facility by members of the media via The Atlantic, and was most recently named #1 in the NFL for overall game day satisfaction from the 2024 season. None of these accomplishments would have been possible without the over 200 full-time staff and nearly 3,000 part-time team members who work to create an amazing experience for major events at U.S. Bank Stadium. Not only is this venue a workplace for so many Minnesotans, it is an entertainment destination, providing civic benefit through dynamic mix of community events as intended by the legislation. In addition to the Vikings games and major stadium events like concerts and family shows, U.S. Bank Stadium averages 71 days per year of specific community-based programming, including the Minnesota State High School League Soccer and Football Championships, which are held annually at no cost to the State High School League, various youth football games, marching band competitions, indoor running and inline skating on the concourses during the winter months, collegiate baseball and softball games, and numerous charity events. The MSFA believes that the U.S. Bank Stadium has met and exceeded every expectation from its original legislative intention, a promise to become a successful economic engine for the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis, while providing a world-class venue for professional football and a broad range of other civic, community, athletic, educational, cultural, and commercial activities. Page 4, I direct you to page 4 of your materials for today's presentation, outlines the existing funding sources for the MSFA's capital projects in detail. Funding is derived from the state of Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota Vikings, and ASM Global. These established funding mechanisms have provided support for routine upkeep, repairs, and replacements through the first 9 years of operations. However, as the building ages, the long-term needs of the facility and replacement of systems reaching end of life will greatly outpace the existing funding. Additionally, the MSFA's annual expenditures are detailed in our comprehensive annual financial report, which is public and sent to the chairs and ranking minority members of the legislative committees with jurisdiction over state government finances as required by statute. Our key priority for discussions today is support for the second phase of the permanent secured perimeter. This incredibly important public safety project outlined on page 5 of your handout is intended to, 1, protect U.S. Bank Stadium as a Minnesota asset, enhance public safety, preserve community access, and complete the vision for U.S. Bank Stadium. This project has been identified as a critical requirement of the U.S. Bank Stadium Safety Act designation from the Department of Homeland Security. The MSFA is incredibly thankful for being granted $15.7 million in the funding as a result of the 2023 legislative session to complete Phase 1 of the permanent secured perimeter. Phase 1 encompassed the north, east, and south portions of the facility with the design and construction of anti-climb fencing, crash-rated barriers, and bollards. The second phase of the project is much larger in scope and scale, securing the west portion of the stadium's Legacy Gate, Medtronic Plaza, and the Downtown East Plaza. It will include a similar system of anti-climb fencing, crash-rated barriers, bollards, and will also plan to include structures for gates of entry. The MSFA is currently working with HKS Architects to further develop the architectural structure and civil design of the second phase of this project. The current estimate of Phase 2 for the permanent secured perimeter is nearly $85 million. In this legislative session, we are requesting $30 million to allow work on this project to continue, focusing on the hardening of the perimeter. This request is for appropriation bonds based on the guidance from MMB that based on the use agreements in place at the stadium, general obligation bonds cannot be used for the perimeter project. The original stadium bonds were also issued as appropriation bonds. As stewards of the facility, the MSFA looks forward to continued discussions with you to protect the state asset and invest safety enhancements such as this. According to the statute, a core obligation of the MSFA is to maintain U.S. Bank Stadium as a top venue comparable to similar facilities around the country. In early 2023, the MSFA did important work as stewards of the facility to complete a professionally driven, comprehensive facility assessment to fully investigate the current state of the facility and to forecast future needs. The MSFA stadium partners utilize the facility assessment as a tool to direct U.S. Bank Stadium's ongoing capital plan and providing strategic recommendations with the goal of protecting the state's asset and continuing to operate U.S. Bank Stadium at the highest level. The nature of the capital improvement projects vary from very simple upkeep projects like flooring and paint, which in a stadium that's this size can equate significant investments. At the more complicated side, the projects include major replacements of the venue's systems and technologies such as the Wi-Fi system and the video production room and associated video display boards. No matter the scale, capital improvement projects are important to maintaining this facility and continuing to provide a world-class environment. The facility assessment and ongoing capital plan estimate approximately $300 million in preventive maintenance repairs in capital projects over the next 10 years. In closing, Madam Chair and members, as stated, the MSFA believes the original intention of the facility has been met and exceeded. We know that U.S. Bank Stadium has been incredibly successful in becoming an economic engine for the community by providing significant economic impact and civic benefit to the state of Minnesota and the city of Minneapolis. US Bank Stadium is nearly 9 years old, and the facility is in overall great shape. The MSFA works closely with stadium partners to plan for updates and provide critical maintenance of systems and equipment in order to extend the life of all assets in the venue. And in closing, the MSFA takes extreme pride in its stewardship of US Bank Stadium and intends to keep it in a great shape for years to come. We thank you for your time and attention to these matters. Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vekich, for that excellent overview. Have you been able to draw down the $15.7 million from the 23 appropriation?
Madam Chair, yes, we have drawn down on that, and the project is completed. It was completed within 2024.
Was that the full, complete cost of the project, or did you also have, was that just half the cost or a portion of the cost?
Madam Chair, there are two phases, Phase 1 and Phase 2. The 15.7 included the full cost of Phase 1. So with those dollars, we completed that.
Okay.
Here now, the Phase 2 piece is the 85 million I mentioned.
Okay.
And in this session, we are asking for 30 million to get the permanently secured hardened portion done.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, Senator Friends?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, Chair Vekich, thank you to you, your whole team. You've done a fantastic job with this facility. Members, we're talking about a state obligation to keep it in first-class condition. In another committee, Senator Housley and I talked about the value to Minnesotans of these events. So if I may, take it in two bites. First of all, the economic value of this stadium. I think the Taylor Swift, the two concerts by themselves were 130 million plus of economic impact. So even if all we cared about was money, we want to make sure these facilities, and not just US Bank, but Xcel, are kept in the best possible condition. But the intangible, what's it worth for a fourth grader to play football at US Bank Stadium, or a ninth grade kid to dream about playing in the state tournament at the Xcel Energy Center? You're talking about things kids will remember for the rest of their lives, and we're providing world-class quality facilities here. Finally, Chair, count on our support in the Senate to bring forth both those arguments, economic and quality of life, and just want to signal to you and the other members of MFSA how much we appreciate how you got us to this point and how you should expect the state of Minnesota to be a good partner from here for the rest of the way. Thank you. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Friends. Any other questions, Senator Dibble?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I echo the great job that Mr. Vekich has done. He's been a longtime friend, served in many capacities with him, and once again, we'll publicly thank you for taking my dad on the tour of the facility before he went off to his eternal reward. That was one of the highlights of his life, so thank you very much for that. That was, and his brothers, who are my dad, who spent very little of his life in Minnesota as an adult, was the biggest Vikings fan as an expat, and his two brothers, even bigger, who do live here. And believe me, they pressured me to vote for that Vikings bill, which I didn't do. But now that it's there, it's a good thing. Senator Friends and I have had this discussion. I will acknowledge that, of course, having that vitality and vibrancy in downtown is a good thing. Anchored on the other side by the two Target facilities. But Mr. Vekich, I don't know if you came prepared to share with the committee there are only two really sources of funds on an ongoing basis that support the operation and ongoing capital needs of the stadium. That's the City of Minneapolis, which continues to pay debt service, even though the debt has been retired. I think we pay in excess of $6 million a year for debt service, even though the debt's been completely defeased. And then an ongoing source that goes into a couple of different purpose funds in the amounts that I can't quite recall, but it's in the many millions of dollars. And then the Vikings, of course, pay on an ongoing basis for the maintenance and operation of the facility. Do you remember in rough proportions how much those respective amounts are?
Mr. Vekich.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Dibble, and thank you for your comments. I enjoyed the time. If I could have you move to page 4 of your handout. As you can see, there are two sources of payments from each entity. One is for operating and others for capital. So the start out for on operating for the city of Minneapolis was $6 million, and increases by a factor of 0 to 1.5% depending on the increase in sales tax. A very difficult computation. And then capital of $1,500,000, again by a factor that increased over the years. So through June of 2024, the city has contributed to operating payments of $60 million in round numbers and $15 million in capital. In addition to that, my predecessors negotiated what was called an excess sales tax computation. And Ms. Esmer is still here. She could explain it a lot better than I can because it takes a supercomputer to run it. But it has to do with a payment in excess of sales tax increases based on a formula. And with that, the city has contributed an additional $15,250,000, or a total through June of 24 from 2014 of $90 million. Now, as compared to the Minnesota Vikings, they started off with operating payments of $8,500. I would like to mention that the Vikings pay the highest, quote-unquote, rent of all NFL stadiums, and still do at this point, as I understand. That starts out at $8,500,000 and increases by 2% per year. Their capital payments are $1.5 million, again with a factor increase. So with a combination of operating payments and capital payments, the total amount is $101 million contribution. And Madam Chair, if I may, Senator Dibble, just one factor as you're looking at these dollars. The operating payments do not stay with the MSFA. Those dollars are transferred directly to our operator, ASM Global, to have the dollars to operate the stadium. And in exchange for that, the ASM Global entered into a contract that would provide a guarantee starting out at $6,750,000, and then with an increase factor. I will note that there has not been a guarantee of this type in the NFL. There isn't one now, and the likelihood of that occurring in the future is probably slim. So that, with that and the net operating income, they contributed an additional almost $57 million through June of 2024.
Members, I don't want to cut anyone off, but we still have one more agenda on our tonight, and we do like to end by 5. We might have to go a little bit later, and I know some of us have pensions. But Senator Dibble and then Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll just make two quick comments. One is, so I think on an ongoing basis, I think the amount that is being contributed by the Vikings, as well as the city of Minneapolis, into the foreseeable future will be about the same amount in the $12 to $15 million per year range, which helps support the operations, the capital maintenance needs, maybe some modest improvements. But to Senator Francis' point, we do have the obligation to keep this a world-class facility, and some of the projects and major capital infrastructure needs that Mr. Vekich described simply isn't available through those amounts of money that we're talking about. So I think it does make sense for the state to continue to participate in some of these larger projects. Thank you.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Mr. Vekich. I am just curious, does this fencing requirement or these guidelines, does that come from the Department of Homeland Security, or is that an NFL guideline?
Mr. Vekich.
I'm sorry, Senator, would you repeat the statement?
Yep. So the fencing requirements around the stadium, is that required by the Department of Homeland Security, or is that an NFL guideline?
Good question.
Mr. Vekich.
Madam Chair and Senator Housley, The designation from the Department of Homeland Security is something that we seek, not a mandate that it must be. That's point number one. Two, the NFL certainly encourages strongly, that NFL stadiums have the full designation. There are about 20 right now that are designated. There will be more as the new ones are built. So for us to maintain that, there are very specific requirements. One is anti-climb fencing, two is bollards, and three are crash-rated fencing, et cetera. And there's some other items that I can't go into specifically that are about that. So once you seek it, they then provide the requirements necessary to get it to that point.
Thank you, thank you.
Senator Nelson, and then we have to move on.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I would be remiss if I just didn't acknowledge, Mr. Vekich, the work that you have done and the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority. It's really been remarkable. I was a freshman when we passed the innovative Vikings Stadium bill, and I'm just extremely pleased with how we have seen this innovative, novel approach move forward. I think it serves as a model for perhaps others as well, if at all possible. So I just wanted to thank you for your leadership. You've been at the helm the whole time, and well done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vekich. I appreciate you coming here today.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear about the Xcel Energy Appropriation Bond Center proposal. Xcel Energy Center Appropriation Bond Proposal. And let's start out by welcoming the Mayor of St. Paul, Mr. Melvin Carter. And also, if Mr. Leopold wants to join us anyone who wants to come up, please do. Welcome to the Senate.
Thank you.
Yes, Mayor Carter, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Pappas. Thank you so much, Lead Housley, and members of the Senate Capital Investment Committee. We thank you for your invitation today. It's an honor to be here. My name is Melvin Carter. I serve as mayor of the city of St. Paul, Minnesota, the capital city of the state of hockey. The Xcel Energy Center Arena Complex.
Yeah, we don't have a bill before us.
Okay.
Senator Uma Verbaeten is joining us at the table because we don't actually have an official bill in front of us, so it's just a presentation about the proposal.
Good.
But she's welcome at any point to make comments.
I am happy to defer to Senator Uma Verbaeten if she has opening comments.
Senator Verbaeten, did you? All right, Senator Mayor, please proceed. Senator Mayor, Mr. Mayor. It's getting late and it's Monday. No, usually you say that on a Friday.
That's right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you so much. The Xcel Energy Center Arena Complex is a critical economic engine for our city and for our state. Together, the Xcel Energy Center Arena, St. Paul River Center, and legendary Roy Wilkins Auditorium attract over 2.1 million visitors to our city every year, infuse $383 million annually into our local economy, and drive business, jobs, tourism, and vitality throughout our community and our region. Just as exciting, the Arena Complex will be on the global stage later this year when we host the International Ice Hockey Federation's 2026 World Junior Hockey Championships. In this month, we are on target to see about 1 million people visit our city, largely through the Xcel Complex, for the state tournaments, college hockey, Wild and Frost games, conferences, and other specialty shows will host there. Big things are happening, but 25 years post-construction of this facility, we simply cannot afford to stand still. The Arena Complex must be modernized to stay competitive with other NHL arenas and entertainment venues and within our own market. This project is about so much more than an arena renovation. It's about reimagining and expanding the entire complex to be the anchor of a vibrant entertainment district, a place that not only attracts even more world-class events, but also fuels the kind of activity, energy, and growth that subsets housing opportunities, public safety, and economic development. When there's a game or a concert or some other type of big event at the Xcel Arena complex, everyone knows it. Visitors and restaurants book our hotels, dine in our bars and restaurants, shop locally, and experience all that our community has to offer. The project is also connected to the revitalization of our downtown and strengthening public safety. It's no secret that right now is a critical time for downtowns across the country, across our community, and it's no secret that those pressures are particularly impactful here in St. Paul, where we have just recently witnessed the passing of our largest property owner downtown and the ongoing implosion of that entire portfolio. This is an opportunity for us to revitalize, stabilize that tax base downtown, which is critical for our city as well as our entire state. That's why our most pressing task right now is to create the infrastructure that keeps people downtown, that keeps them coming back, that keeps them enjoying the way our community hosts people. We know that when our public spaces are maintained and invested in, people use them. We know that enhancing streets and sidewalks and improving accessibility creates a more welcoming environment for residents and visitors alike, and we know that the power of people is what creates vitality in a community. A renovated, modernized Xcel Energy Center Arena complex is the catalyst that makes all of that possible. The vision to reimagine the future of our city and our region is bold, ambitious, and absolutely necessary. We're creating a city anchor where people want to be a hub of energy, business, and community that reverberates far beyond our borders. Our neighbors and partners are taking action to update their strategic plans for the future, and we have an opportunity to do the same with our Xcel Arena complex. I mentioned the $383 million in economic impact. I'd like to note that's just the complex. That does not include the folks who stop on the West 7th to grab dinner on their way to a game or stop in our community to grab a beverage after a concert. If we're able to do this renovation, that number would increase by $110 million a year. That's critical revenue for our state. That's critical economic opportunity for our community. And we look forward to continuing to advance this vision that's worthy of the capital city of the state of hockey and a future that we can all invest in together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Leopold.
Chair Pappas, Senator Housley, Senator Verbatim, members, thank you very much. My name is Craig Leopold, and I'm the owner of the Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Sports and Entertainment Company. We have had the privilege of managing the arena, as well as the St. Paul River Center, Roy Wilkins Auditorium, and the other conference and event spaces within the complex since day one, since 2000. 25 years later, 9/11 and a global pandemic later, Xcel Energy Center now is at the end of its intended lifespan. The arena, as well as the 93-year-old Roy Wilkins Auditorium and the River Center, now require significant renovations to stay competitive in our local market with other venues nationwide. Over the last few years, we visited arenas and downtowns across the country, seeing firsthand how similar investments are transforming communities. We know that we can use these incredible publicly owned buildings for so much more, and that's what this is all about. We've conducted a market feasibility study and venue assessment and have been working with a nationally renowned company that's behind similar exciting investments, from US Bank Stadium to the Edmonton Ice District. We're excited about what this opportunity could mean for our hometown. The Minnesota Wild are deeply rooted in St. Paul. We love this city, and we take pride in calling it home. I myself have been a proud downtown St. Paul resident for 16 years now. Like many of you, I know how the energy in this city shifts when there's a concert or a game going on at the X. Downtown becomes full of life, and the sidewalks feel safer and more vibrant. It's St. Paul at its best. Our team in this arena drive hundreds of millions of dollars into the local economy, supporting thousands of jobs and bringing millions of visitors to our city each year. This is the vital economic engine driving St. Paul. It's hard to imagine a city without it. This is our chance to reimagine St. Paul as a city that's not just of the future, but a city that defines it. I'm personally invested in this project because I love St. Paul, and I truly believe this is our best shot at positioning this city for the future. Other cities around the nation are making these investments. If we hope to have a thriving, vibrant capital city for years to come, we have to do this now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions for the mayor or for Mr. Leopold at this point? Senator Rasmussen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Mayor Carter. I know the city of St. Paul has a number of different bonding proposals that are in front of the committee, and we had a chance over our bonding tour to see a number of those. And Madam Chair, just wanted to ask the mayor, from the city of St. Paul's perspective, is this your number one request to the state in terms of capital investment needs?
I just want to interrupt for a minute. Senator Rasmussen, this is an appropriation bond request. It's not a general obligation bond request. And then the mayor can answer your question. Yeah.
Madam Chair, Senator, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, Senator, thank you for the question. Yes, this is our top, getting this done is our most urgent and pressing need for our community. As the chair said, this is an appropriations. You guys just had a lengthy primer on what that means, but this is an appropriations bonding request, and it is our top priority.
Senator Housley.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator Umu Verbaeten and Mayor Carter and Mr. Leopold. Thank you for bringing this bill. We've all been downtown St. Paul over the last decade and watch it get quieter and quieter at night and a little bit scarier. And something like this would really revitalize the whole neighborhood and the whole community. Mr. Leopold, I want to tell you that I was in Nashville before you were the owner of the Nashville Predators, and that downtown was blighted and boring and a little scary. And then you came in and got Bridgestone Arena, worked with the mayor and the city and the county and the state, and you and your dream for a city that you love turned the city of Nashville around, and now it's booming and, well, the bridesmaid capital of the world. But I want to thank you, and I really do love this dream of yours, and it's exciting when you move into a city and you love it, so thank you.
Chair Pappas, Senator Housley.
Mr. Leopold.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Nashville's a great city. I so much believe in downtowns. It's the heart of our city in St. Paul, and if you don't have a vibrant, strong, healthy downtown, then your entire city is in trouble. So I'm proud of what happened in Nashville. We're doing the same here, and I'm proud of that.
Senator Friends.
Madam Chair, I see you've got some other testifiers that I think we should hear from first. I would just say thank you, Mr. Leopold. Thank you, Mayor Carter. It's the coolest thing ever when the Wild score and the fans go crazy, or when a high school athlete gets to live out their dreams, or when a 5-year-old goes on the ice and said, I might skate here someday in the state tournament. That's my comment. Count me in as a supporter, Madam Chair.
Senator Jasinski.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Leopold and Mayor Carter. Again, I'm a neighbor. I live there. It's my, second or actually third home. I live in the Irvine Exchange just down the hill, and may frequent the businesses down there and have a beverage or two. And speaking from the small business standpoint, this is really important for them. What this does to their economy, what it does to their profit and loss statement is huge. And I told Mayor Carter the other day in a meeting, I can't imagine what downtown St. Paul would look like without the Xcel or the Minnesota Wild being there. So again, thank you for your investment in the community. It's very, very important, and we need to make sure this continues to be one of the top-notch facilities, along with U.S. Bank Stadium here in Minnesota, because they're such great economic engines for our whole state. So thank you very much.
We have a few testifiers joining us. So next we have Ms. Skugman, Josie Skugman, student athlete. Welcome.
Hello, Madam Chair, Senators. My name is Josie Skugman, and I'm a senior at Hill Murray School. I am a St. Paul native, a two-time All-State hockey player, and a recent Minnesota State girls hockey champion. In my high school career, I've had the honor of competing at the state hockey tournament at the Xcel Energy Center 2 years in a row. Whether you're a high school or professional athlete, this venue is the pinnacle of our sport. We all know Minnesota is the state of hockey, but weeks like the state tournament are a great reminder as to why this is. We are the state of hockey because of the indescribable feeling that I get coming to downtown St. Paul and creating lasting memories, staying in the hotel with my teammates, taking in the competitive environment, and walking around downtown or the X. We are the state of hockey because we know how this sport brings people together. Having an incredible venue like the X to welcome crowds, including my family, friends, neighbors, and classmates, brings everyone closer. Now more than ever, having a space where we can all get together and enjoy sports and concerts we live for goes a long way. We are the state of hockey because we know what placing girls hockey on the biggest stage does for the sport, and we give it the attention it deserves. Women's hockey is often overlooked and overshadowed across the country, but not in Minnesota. I still remember walking into the X for the first time as a junior, feeling the energy and excitement of playing on the same ice as the Minnesota Wild and Frost. Playing on this stage is special, not just because of what teams can achieve there, but because we all know what incredible opportunity it is to inspire younger girls and show them that this is their stage too. We are the state of hockey because my younger sister can see me and my teammates on the same ice as hockey icons from around the world and decide she's going to start playing hockey herself. I have been lucky to experience some of the happiest moments of my life at the Xcel Energy Center. It's hard to imagine Minnesota hockey without this arena in downtown St. Paul. Take a moment to picture it. We are the state of hockey because Minnesota does it like nobody else. Right now, we have the opportunity to guarantee these remarkable moments we share at the X can carry on for generations. Next season, I'll be staying close to home and playing hockey at the University of St. Thomas, where my goal is to help the Tommies compete for a national championship. But no matter where my hockey journey takes me, my experience at the X will always hold a special place in my heart. By investing in renovations to the entire arena complex, we are making a promise to my little sister and young athletes from around the state that the opportunity to compete and experience the culture of the Xcel Energy Center will still be around for them. That is something worth investing in. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
And thank you for being here today, and thank you for your enthusiasm, and good luck to your career as an athlete.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have B. Kyle, President of the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to see you, Madam Chair and committee members. And thank you for the opportunity. So my name is B. Kyle. I am the President and CEO of the St. Paul Area Chamber, and we represent over 1,900 companies and affiliates across the region. And it truly is my pleasure to be able to join these two to talk. And thank you for your testimony on behalf of the Xcel Energy Center and its contribution to St. Paul and really to the state. I will keep it brief, given the fact that we're getting to the end. My message here really is about the economics of this kind of investment and its contribution not only to the city and the state. This is our most impactful venue in the city of St. Paul. And its impact on our economy it can't be overstated. And we just want to, and I do a lot of traveling across the country. I go to peer cities to see how first-class venues absolutely transform downtowns. And I agree with Craig on that. And so I just wanted to double down on that message that the impact this makes can't be overstated, and it is our most critical venue in the city. And we want to say thank you for the consideration, and we look forward to seeing you at a game.
Thank you very much. And then our last testifier is Ryan Gilbertson from the Minnesota State Building and Construction Trades Council. And then we'll have Ms. Grunwald-Nolder go over the fiscal note.
Good afternoon, Chair Pappas and members of the committee. My name is Ryan Gilbertson, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota State Building and Construction Trades Council, representing over 70,000 women and men across our affiliate unions. I'm here today to express our strong support for the renovation funding package for the Xcel Energy Center, the St. Paul River Center, and the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. This $800 million project is more than just a renovation. It's a commitment to the future of St. Paul. These facilities have been anchors in our state for decades, hosting everything from world-class sporting events and concerts to community and business gatherings. But as you know, the competitive landscape has changed, and these venues are at risk of falling behind. This investment is a critical step towards keeping St. Paul vibrant, attracting visitors, and ensuring our capital city remains a destination for entertainment, tourism, and economic growth. A key component of this project is the project labor agreement that will govern both the construction and long-term maintenance of these facilities. That means 2,300 skilled union construction workers will be on site, men and women trained in the safest, most efficient building techniques, ensuring that this complex is built to last. And beyond construction, the workers who maintain these facilities will be paid family-sustaining wages with strong benefits, strengthening our workforce and supporting middle-class families in the region. The Xcel Energy Center was originally built in 1999, and while the arena has outlived its competitive prime, its structural integrity remains strong. That is a testament to the quality craftsmanship of the union tradesfolks who built it in the first place. Now, with this investment, our members are ready to once again deliver a world-class facility that will serve St. Paul and Minnesota for generations to come. But this project is more than just an arena. It has the potential to jumpstart additional economic development downtown. A strong, thriving entertainment district fuels local businesses, restaurants, hotels, and shops, and makes St. Paul a more attractive place to live, work, and invest. We believe this is the right investment at the right time. It puts skilled trades folks to work, ensures quality jobs in the long term, and positions St. Paul for a brighter economic future. On behalf of the Minnesota Building and Construction Trades Council, I urge you to support this critical funding package. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gilbertson. Thank you to all the testifiers. Then we only have a few minutes left, but I'd like to ask Ms. Grunwald-Noldner to just go over the fiscal note with us.
Madam Chair and members, I'll try to be quick. So in your packets, you have a fiscal note titled Senate File 9019-0- Event Capital Improvement Bonds Authorized. And this is a fiscal note on, it's an unofficial fiscal note on unintroduced language. And that unintroduced language proposes the bond, appropriation bond authorization for $394.61 million for the River Center Arena, River Center Complex, and Roy Wilkins Auditorium in the city of St. Paul, as well as associated financing costs. And essentially, the two costs that this fiscal note shows, as you'll see on the first page, is under deed. There's a $25,000 yearly cost for grant administration, and then for MMB, the cost shown here is the debt service needed in order to pay for these appropriation bonds. So that would be $11 million in fiscal year 2026, $33 million in fiscal year 2027, $33 million in fiscal year 2028, and $33 million again in 2029. So that's an ongoing cost. And I'll leave it there. If members have more questions about the fiscal note, I'm happy to go into detail now or after committee.
Any questions from members of the committee about the fiscal note? Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe this question is for Mr. Leopold, but I'm looking at the total project costs and the breakdown. 50% would be the state of Minnesota, 30% Minnesota Wild, 20% St. Paul and local partners. Can you walk me through what the Wild's 30% contribution looks like? Is that upfront, or is it over the time of the 20-year appropriation bond? Can you walk me through a little more detail on what that looks like?
Mr. Leopold.
Chair Pappas, Senator, thank you for that question. We are, so our commitment is a solid commitment. We are willing to be flexible in terms of the phasing of that money coming in. We recognize that we may come in at a higher number in the beginning and then go down. But we do have flexibility in terms of when does it come in early or does it come in late?
Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for that answer. Can you walk me through the timeline and how that payment structure gets decided, and how this unintroduced bill would play into that? Just how the timeline on how that would work?
Mr. Leopold.
Chair Pappas, thank you. To be honest with you, my money is there in terms of how it would play out and be spent on the project would likely depend on what we're hearing back from the Senate and the House, and how the funding is approved. And if it's, if it needs to come in earlier, it will be there for that purpose. If not, in the normal course of this, I would say, the funding, the actual spending the money will probably be over a 4 or 5 year period of time. And the thought would be that we would be equal partners in this period of time, 4 or 5 years. And, but again, the flexibility that if we needed to come in earlier, because there are phasing issues, then we're flexible to do that.
Senator Kroon, I assume this would work similar to GO bonds where the operating authority, the city actually owns the facility, would have to pay for things up front, and perhaps it would be with Mr. Leopold's money, and then would get reimbursed from the state up to the amount that we are appropriating. But we can certainly get more information from MMB on that. Mr. Kroon, Senator Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that. It sounds like you're flexible and willing to make this work, however it needs to happen. Is kind of what I heard you say. I appreciate that. And then maybe this question is for the mayor. The 20% from the city of St. Paul and local partners. Can you walk me through who those other local partners are in that final 20%?
Mayor Carter.
Madam Chair, Senator, thank you so much for the question. And to be clear on the previous question, there are sort of this is a city-owned facility, a city-owned building, and so the way we kind of structured this is that the public would help to both the state and the city portions would primarily be around some of the concessions areas, the sort of renovation and repairs to the facility and expansion of the facility to help make the facility work, again, not just for the Wild, but for the 100 events that we do a year that are beyond the Wild games. The team's contribution would be concentrated around some of those kind of aspects around the team and the club kind of improvements that this team specifically needs and the upgrades necessary through the NHL and things like that. So I think that's a part of how that funding structure broke down. The local sources are essentially us and the county. We're working through kind of the agreement with the county and figuring out exactly how that partnership would be structured and what the exact number of that would be. The city's portion we've identified Economic Development Star as the portion that would be the city's primary match.
Mr. Mayor, I think I saw a different handout where you had a breakdown, how much would be for the Xcel renovation, how much for the River Center renovation, how much for Roy Wilkins.
That's correct.
And so is this request from the state just for Xcel, or is it for the whole complex?
Madam Chair, thank you for the question. Yes, we have a total ask of a total need, I should say, of $395 million that would help to address all three facilities
that includes all three
within the complex. That would include all three, yes.
And I think someone just handed you maybe the breakdown.
Yes, ma'am. The breakdown is $284.6 million that would help us address the Xcel Energy Center, $75 million around the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, where I believe my father went to prom, to tell you how new and shiny that facility is, and $35 million for the River Center.
Your grandfather probably went to
My
prom.
grandfather could have gone to prom there. Yes, that's accurate.
Right. Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you. Oh, me first.
Senator Nelson, I thought you wanted to be last.
Oh, I can be at any time.
Nope,
I have
that
a
was
quick
wrong.
question.
Go ahead.
Senator Verbatim wants to be last. Okay, sorry. Senator Nelson.
What about me? Do I have to go
Then you're after her.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, who knows? We might have the same question. But Senator Pappas, your question got a little bit to what I was trying to figure out. So the individual amounts for each project is helpful. But what I was thinking about with the arena, how does the cost of the arena itself, which I think is $284.6 million, if that's correct, how does that compare to other similar arenas that have been revamped or remodeled around the nation?
Mr. Leopold.
Chair Pappas, Senator, thank you for that question. We're fortunate that we don't have to tear down our arena and rebuild it, that we are going to reimagine the inside. If we were going to tear it down, if the need was that we had to start over, it would be about $1.1 billion. a total cost for a new arena. We looked at that number and said, we don't need to do that. So the total cost for just the arena portion was, do you recall what the total cost of the arena, or maybe you said it? Yep. For the entire Xcel Energy Center remodeling would be $570 million, of which $285 million we're asking the state to help with.
And how does that compare?
Senator Nelson.
Thank you. How does that compare to then other arenas? I mean, are there other arenas which have also gone through the renovation stage, or do they all get torn down and built new? I'm just curious how this stacks up with competition around the nation.
Yeah.
Mr. Leopold.
Chair Pappas, Senator, that's actually a really good question. We went to visit 7 or 8 facilities, some that have been rebuilt completely, other than that have been remodeled. And it's around $500 million is probably maybe the average number, but a number of these arenas were remodeled 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, and costs increase 5 to 6% every year. So I would say that we're right in the average cost of what they were done at that time.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you. My question is for you, Madam Chair. Since I have not lived to see a bonding bill passed, I'm wondering how it's scheduled. So the appropriation bonds only have to be approved by a simple majority. GO bonds have to be approved by a supermajority. So do you split out if there's projects that are covered by appropriation bonds? Is that a separate bill?
To be determined. You know, it certainly could be in the capital investment bill, or it could be a separate bill. I think with the Viking Stadium, as I recall, it was a standalone bill.
But, Madam Chair, if
Senator Johnson Stewart.
So if they were put together as one bill, would you still need a supermajority to pass one bill?
Senator Johnson Stewart, if it was a standalone bill, you would not. But if it was part of the bonding bill, obviously, the rest of the bonding bill would require a supermajority.
So
sometimes we've carried housing infrastructure bonds in the capital investment bill, and sometimes they've gone as a standalone bill.
Well, the reason I ask is it's so important to get participation from everyone in passing the bonding bill. And knowing some of the history of some of the people who are here advocating for the stadiums, I think that might be a good strategy. My 2 cents, Senator.
Senator Housley and I just had that little sidebar conversation. Mr. Mayor and your fiscal people, it'd be really helpful if we had kind of a total breakdown on one page. That is the total cost of the project, breakdown of each portion of the project, and the request from each kind of entity here that's involved in it. That would be helpful. And I don't know, usually we require MMB forms, and I'm not sure with appropriation bonds if they do, because we don't do them that often. But that's also something that we should look at. And if any members on the committee, I'm going to give the last word to Senator Verbaeten.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Thanks for making space for me today. I really appreciate it. I am very excited to be carrying this bill and this priority for our capital city. One thing I did want to note, the fiscal note talks about the assumption of the 20-year kind of window, but what I'll be introducing will have the 30-year window, so expect some changes there with the new fiscal note. I don't want to repeat too much of what has been said, but just really want to make sure folks see this as an important economic development strategy for our city and for our state. And, you know, the mayor, Mr. Leopold, and all the testifiers talked about the impact, of course, that huge increase in spending that we need in order to raise revenue for our city and for our state, and to really shift the tax burden away from our property owners in St. Paul, but also the union construction jobs, the jobs that will come to that space. It's really like the heart of downtown, and we need this thriving vibrant downtown, to make sure that we're diversifying our tax base, that we're raising revenue, and that we're able to then support all the really crucial services that we have at the city and at the state. So I really see this as a long-term strategy as well, to make sure that we are finding ways to really raise new money at a time where we're facing a lot of, devastating cuts. We have to think about the future and how to set ourselves up for a different, more vibrant, more, sustainable future. And I really see this as a part of that. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and the committee meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.